how would a person go about starting this process of living their life through the lens of philosophy? How do you start living your life through philosophy?
You do worse than open up Epictetus's manual at step one or section one, right? Which is
Hmm.
that dichotomy of control. Okay, so
Yeah.
here's the stuff you can control. Here's the stuff you can't control. If you're worrying a lot about the stuff that you can't control, try it and see if it works. It's not going to work for you. If you redirect that energy on the stuff that you can control, give that a shot.
Mm.
And I'm confident that you're gonna see some changes, and that you're not gonna find yourself as disappointed as you might be.
Yeah.
I mean that little manual which is put together by Epictetus' student Ariane is it's fantastic. I mean, and you know, it's literally that handbook. What is it, 53, 54, 50, you know, sections. You can pick it up. You can have it in your work bag. You can kind of just jump in and read a section at any time. Um, but I mean, Epictetus is also really, I think, a good place to start because of that emphasis that you've mentioned on putting the ideas into practice. Most
Mm.
important thing for Epictetus is what you do with the ideas, rather than kind of what you think.
Mm.
It's all very well to have the theory, but you really must try and put it into action. And there are various tests that he will kind of recommend to you. You know, go out in the morning, confront various kinds of people, monitor your own reactions, and then apply that test. Am I reacting to something that's beyond my control? If I am, then I might need to rethink that. What is in my control? Okay, it's how I respond to that. Attend to that and do that, and then just do it again and do it again and do it again until it becomes
Mm.
something you don't need to think about doing anymore. And you know, one thing that I'll tell you a little bit of story about my own kind of philosophical practice, if you
Mm.
like.
Please.
I I began integrating Stoicism into a kind of an Eastern meditative practice, broadly speaking. I had a friend who was at that time a Buddhist monk. He's become an Orthodox Christian. Really interesting spiritual journey. He and I would sit together once a week, and then I would sit every morning. And I would I'd memorized basic Stoic principles, and after kind of attending to my breath and calming my body, I would basically repeat these principles to myself. I got into the trap of thinking that unless I had a 45-minute period of doing that every day, I wasn't going to be a good person or a happy
Mm.
person. And then kids came along, and neither of our kids have slept well. And so when did Matt used to meditate? 6 in the morning. Did Matt want to meditate at 6 in the morning when he'd had 4 hours of broken sleep? No. So I stopped doing it. And I started to beat myself up. You know, I'm a kind of a stoic. And where this is going is, if you read Epictetus, that's the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah.
It is a philosophy. You can do it right now at any moment, because it's about monitoring your responses. It's not,
Yeah.
I've got 45 minutes where I'm going to be stoic, and then that's going to kind of guide me over 24 hours, and then I'm going to pop my stoic bucket again, and then and that was kind of how I think about it.
Yeah.
It's really, no, every moment there are impressions coming in, and there's a possibility of doing something about that. Monitoring how
Yeah.
you respond, and how you're thinking about what do I want? What am I desiring? What am I fearing? Do I need to fix that? What am I anxious about? Can I control that? What strategies might there be to become less anxious about that? And since I've begun thinking about stoicism in that way, I think it's become a lot more real and achievable.
Yeah.
So again, you had a very perfectionistic approach. You get up, you spend a certain amount of time, and you're going to become a sage. No, not in my
Yeah.
experience. You can ask my family members as to how I've gone with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes perfect sense what you're saying, because like you're sitting there for 45 minutes. It might be a good opportunity to reflect. It's a good every so often when you can find that time to sit and reflect on a certain idea or meditate. That's brilliant. But in the end, you're not really living in that moment, right? So, you know, what's really beautiful about Stoicism is that, or just about philosophy in general, the idea of philosophy is that it should be something that you think about every single day in everything that you do. You can meditate on this at any point. And you can step out of yourself and look at what you're doing from an outside perspective and say, well, how could I be doing this better? How could I have more excellence in what I'm doing right now? How could I be thinking clearer about what I'm doing right now? And honestly, I never meditate, and I feel exactly the same way that you do. It's like this philosophy is best practiced while you're living life, while you're doing just the everyday things that you do. And I've genuinely come to the point where I think that uh, the only way to make lasting change is to not necessarily force it. You probably know this from the Eastern philosophies, right? It's like, stop trying to
Mm.
force everything. Just let yourself play with these ideas, right? Like, become intrigued with these ideas, step outside of yourself and think, how could I implement these into my career or my relationships or my health, right? And
Yeah.
if you think about the ideas long enough, and if you listen to podcasts every so often, or if you read the books so often, these ideas will seep into your mind, and they will just become a part of the way that you live your life. But it takes time, right? And a lot of people want it to happen really quickly. But
Yeah.
if you don't
Right.
force it, and if you just allow these ideas to come into your life to become the guiding light, essentially, that's when you start to see real lasting changes, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's another trap that I sort of fell into, this kind of idea that, I started meditating. So now I'm just going to be, as I say, kind of almost like a sage or something like this. And it's going to be kind of more or less instantaneous. And, again, that's just not the way to think about it. I mean, there's a line in Albert Camus, who's somebody I've also worked a lot on. Happiness is not a sprint; it's long distance. It's a long distance race.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's possible to make a lot of progress in a short period of time, at least superficially, and to sort of think that you've kind of almost reached the goal.
Mm.
But the race will continue, and you will slow down, and you'll confront obstacles. Little boy who, for whatever reason, just can't sleep. And then sleep deprivation, in my case, that was the real kind of thing. John Sellers, who I think you've spoken to once, said to me, we now know that he had also had a child that didn't sleep. So we now know what the key to happiness is a child that sleeps. Sleep deprivation is a real challenge, because of that physiological dimension, and the Stoics are monists. It's not, I mean, the kind of the interface that you have to affect your being is your consciousness and your ability to form judgments, form
Mm.
attitudes, and to form volitions, that is, to do stuff. But the mind is part of the body, and
Mm.
by changing your judgments and forming new cognitive habits and also new physiological habits. I mean, Seneca talks about fasting, for example. I know a lot of people in the modern Stoic movement, and I've started doing this, are really into the cold shower idea. The body is connected to the mind. It's another really attractive thing I think about Stoicism, and that means also, I mean, the body, I always think of it's like a kind of it's like a mule or something. It's kind of stodgy. It's got a real inertial weight to it. It's going to take a lot to change the habit, but once you get into a new inertial pattern,
Mm.
it's, I mean, I'm sure many people can relate to going to the gym, right? If you don't go to the gym for a while, it's really hard to start again. But if you've
Yeah,
been going for 2 or 3 months, it's actually a lot easier.
yeah.
And I
And
think
even
for
better than that, when you start seeing results, what happens is you get even more motivated to keep on doing it, right? Because you see that it's making a difference. So it's almost like you have to understand that from the start, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. But what you
Yeah,
have to do is what they call it in the gym industry is the gym bug, right? You have to get to the point where you catch the gym bug, where you
yeah,
start seeing, oh, my biceps getting a little bigger, or
yeah,
oh, look at
yeah,
that, I'm getting some thighs, right? And so,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you see these initial results, and because you see those results, you catch the gym bug, which means that you don't go to gym for a few days and you just feel,
And you
oh,
feel,
what am
yeah,
I doing, right?
yeah,
And you want to get to
absolutely.
that point where you have to move every day. because it
Yeah.
makes you feel good. It allows you to live a better life. You feel like a better person. And that's the same with philosophy, right? It's like this has to become a thought process that happens every single day in everything that you do. And once you get to that point, it becomes addictive and it becomes something that you can't live without.
Yeah, and you miss it, and you feel a little guilty, perhaps. I mean, and this kind of gym analogy, if we're going to use it as an analogy, it's right there in
Mm.
Epictetus.
Mm.
You know, there's wrestling analogies. You got to train to wrestle. You got to eat certain kinds of food. You've got to, become immune to certain experiences of pain and so on and so forth. And athletics is another analogy. You can't get good at athletics, even if you're naturally gifted, unless you train.
Mm.
And Epictetus, it's exactly like that with philosophy. He even sort of
Yeah.
says, people understand that to be a good athlete, you got to train, and then they come to philosophy and they assume that it's like it's not going to be the same. But as far as Epictetus is concerned, it's absolutely the same. It's
Mm.
just the kind of the wrestling ring is life.
Mm.
It's not like I step into the ring and now I'm a wrestler. You're wrestling kind of in a sense with yourself, and the temptations we all feel perhaps to think in ways and be in ways that aren't as good as they might be. Um,
Mm.
and you're a wrestler, you lose some bouts, you're back in the ring next week. Um, One trap I think about the sage model, if you don't think about it in the right way, this idea that unless you're a sage, you haven't done anything, is you've got to. You've got to accept the possibility that some days you're not going to do it as well as you want, and you've got to then say, well, did my best, didn't work. Tomorrow I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to get better.
Mm.
And you just got to keep getting back in the ring.
Yeah, well, that's
Um,
why he talked about you need self scrutiny and kindness, right? There needs to be, look, I'm
got
not
to forgive
living
yourself.
correctly. However, today I just messed up. Who
Yep,
cares, right? It's
yep,
life. That's what happens. And so,
yep.
as long as you're not too far on the side of who cares, and you're not too far on the
Yeah, you got to
side
get
of
that
self
balance right.
scrutiny,
Yep,
it's got to be a
mm,
balance, right?
yep,
And I
yep.
think this something going back to what you said about training physically and also training your mind, like something that I say to every single one of my clients, it's like, man, you would go out there and that you're going to get better results in the gym if you get a personal trainer, because they know what they're talking about. They're gonna question your motives. They're gonna give you the right advice, and not only that, they're going to push you to be better than what you could be if you just went in there by yourself.
Yep.
And if you think about it, we don't place as high an importance on training our mind, right? Like you'll spend so much money on getting a beautiful home where you live. Spend so much money on your health and fitness. You'll spend so much money on all these areas, but in the end, your true home, the place that matters the most, is like right here in your head.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, for me, like, books, I want to, even though I don't read as much as I know I should, books are one of those things that if I see a book I want, I will not think about the cost. I will not think about whether I should spend that
Yeah, I'm
money
the
or not.
same.
It's like, I will buy that. Like, that's
I
one of
think that's
my
a I
guilty
think that's a
pleasures,
vice. It's yeah, yeah. I've got a massive collection of books for the same reason. I'm a compulsive kind of book buyer. But I think you've really expressed really beautifully that the fundamental Socratic insight. So Socrates is on trial in the Apology. He's supposed to have corrupted the youth, and what he says is what you've kind of said there. Well, look, what I've done is I've come into this city. It's very wealthy. It's an imperial city. It's a trading city. There's people coming to Athens from all around the world, or the known world at that time, the Mediterranean world. All I said to you guys is, look, you're worrying too much about money. You're worrying too much about external stuff. You're worrying too much about status. You're worrying too much about power. All I've said to you is that you could really attend a bit more to the well-being of your own soul.
Mm,
And that's the first. There's kind of 40 ideas I teach in my first class, and that's I call it the turn inwards, the Socratic turn. It's attend to what you can control, and the well-being of your soul and self-knowledge, and let the other stuff take care of itself. Um, Stoics aren't cynics. They don't say withdraw from society,
mm,
don't have a position in society, don't have wealth. none of that. But have have that wealth under the conditions that you're in control of it and it's not in control of you, and you're
Mm,
not dependent on it. You're not kind of like a puppet, that's able to be manipulated by fortune. That
mm,
ancient philosophy that fortune names everything you can't control. Most people, most of the time, because of the way we've been educated, sort of think that unless external stuff goes really well, we're right to be unhappy. And the Stoics come
mm.
along and hack that and say everyone's going to experience bad stuff.
Yeah,
Everybody, even the rich, the famous, the powerful, probably especially them, it seems, are going to experience difficulties. It's what you do with that.
mm,
Um, Adversity. How do you bear up to adversity? If you don't have a philosophy that can't get you through sickness, can't get you through the death of loved ones, can't get you through the difficulties associated with raising kids, can't get you through your own mortality, then that philosophy is probably not a real portal to wisdom, because
mm.
for beings like us that aren't in control of the universe, we're part of the universe.
Yeah,
The wisdom that we have to has to speak for everything that happens, and we're vulnerable. We're not gods.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you want
That
to
that's
have the
really important what you
serenity
said
of
there. Yeah.
the gods, as Seneca says, but the vulnerability of a mortal, right?
Mm.
That'd be great to have
Well,
that.
yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to play God, in the sense that they live their life as if they can control everything, and what the
That's
Stoics
my worry with the
essentially
Tony
said.
Robbins thing. I get that vibe that maybe that Tony sort of, yeah.
Yeah, of
And
course.
this kind
There
of
is the element
the
of like, oh, you
secret
can go
stuff.
out there and
Yeah,
get it, but
yeah,
there needs
yeah.
to be a balance, and that's what I think the Stoics did really beautifully. They said, listen, yeah, life will suck from time to time. It's not going to be easy. As soon as you understand that, then you can start to focus on the one thing that you can control, which is the way that you actually perceive what happens to you, right? And that's such a powerful thing, because I actually think that you can, in some ways, determine the extent to which somebody is living a life through philosophy by looking at the level of hardship that makes them furious, right? So let's say the Wi-Fi breaks down, and all of a sudden you're furious, you're on the phone, I'm canceling my subscription. I hate it. Like
Yeah.
if that's the thing that just absolutely infuriates you, maybe you need a little bit more philosophy in your life, and philosophy that teaches you that life isn't always going to go how you want it, but what you can control is how you perceive the event and what you're going to do next in an effective manner. And I think that the farther we move away from that, the more we are worried by life and affected by life, and as you said earlier, pulled around like a puppet, which is
Yeah.
essentially what so many people are today.